Hello everybody, welcome to today's webinar. We're just going to wait a few minutes while everyone joins in. Thank you very much for joining us, and those of you who joined us last week, hopefully you'll continue to continue your learning from last time. So just while we're waiting, so I'm Neil from AC. And AC, we're delighted to be the exclusive UK dealer for Green Hippo. And today, Susie's going to take you on a bit of a 3D journey. So you're going to learn a third dimension after last week's little exercise. So hopefully some of you joined us last week and learned about the 2D world. And we'll continue that. And I'm sure a few of you are new to this one. So we do have a video of last week's webinar. So if you weren't able to join us and you'd like to know some more, if you drop us a line afterwards or let us know, and we'll make sure we can send you a copy of it so you can join in. And again, we'll be recording this one. So at the end of it, if there's anything you'd like to look at again, if you just let us know, we can send you a copy of it. So I think we're doing relatively well. I think we've nearly got a full house. So I think nobody's waiting. So what I suggest is I'm going to hand over to Susie. So Susie from Green Hippo. She's going to be your tutor for the next hour or so, and hopefully you guys will all learn lots and have an enjoyable day. So I'm going to pass you over to Susie now. Thanks very much.
Hello. Hopefully you can all hear me. I'm Susie. I'm the training manager for Green Hippo, and today we're going to be going through the 3D side of Hippotizer. So I'm hoping it'll last around 50 minutes, and I'm hoping that at the end there'll be 10 minutes for any extra questions anyone's got. Although if you do have any questions at any point throughout, feel free to either unmute your mic and ask them, or you can type them into the chat box where someone will be keeping an eye out, and they'll either read them out or I'll read it out, and we can answer any question that you might have. So SHAPE, like I said, is a 3D side of Hippotizer. It's free with any Play machine, so hopefully you all have managed to download Play okay, and hopefully you can all follow along at home. I do recommend that you do try and follow along at home, and I will try and go slowly enough for you to be able to do that. If I do go too fast at any point, do feel free to just ask me to repeat a bit or to slow down or anything like that. That's absolutely fine. And Play is the same as all of our Hippotizers. It's the same version of software. There's no difference there. So you can do it all on your laptop and then take it over onto an actual machine. And I think at the end, Neil will tell you where to go if you want any more information about purchasing any machines. Okay then, so let's get started. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that. If I do that smaller, there we go. So hopefully you can now all see that, and that's okay. So the first thing when we're working with SHAPE in the 3D environment, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is to configure your Hippotizer to be ready to work with SHAPE. So normally you'll do this when you get to site, maybe after you've done all of your project planning, etc. But we're going to do this to start with, and then we don't have to keep jumping backwards and forwards between the applications there. So the first thing that you need to do is go into your output manager. So we click on outputs, and you should end up with a screen like this. Then, in order to do any editing in the output manager, so like we did last week, if you want to do any editing, you want to press configure and click OK. So this is just going to stop all of our outputs there. And then once you're in configure mode, it allows you to then work with what we've got. So I'm just going to delete the current patch that's there. And what we want to do is we want to add SHAPE. So you'll see that in the middle here, we'll get SHAPE, which is added into our system. So if we do, I'm going to add a second mix as well. So the first mix wants to go into SHAPE. So we do that by pressing patch. So we have our mix here. It goes into SHAPE. So we press this patch button here, and it'll patch the mix into SHAPE. And then we want to come out of SHAPE and into our output. So I'm just going to hit none for now. And I'm going to patch it to my zookeeper. So if you have two screens connected, you want to select your second screen. If you only have one screen connected, watch very carefully what I do, because otherwise you might end up with a full screen output. So we're going to patch it like this. Okay, now if you've got a secondary screen, it's absolutely fine to leave it like this. This is completely fine. If, however, you've only got one screen, so if you're like me, you've only got the one screen here, then what we're going to do is we're just going to go use percentage. I'm just going to make it 15% of its normal size. So we're keeping the same aspect ratio, but we're making it a lot smaller. And this will just put it into the bottom corner, okay? And this just allows us to see what we're doing and what our shape output is going to look like. So make sure that if you patched it onto the same as your zookeeper monitor, that you put it down here like this, so it's a lot smaller. And once we've done that, we're going to add a second mix just for a bit later. And then we're going to just hit apply config. And then once you apply, you should end up with a little black box in the bottom corner. Or if you've got a second screen, you should see that your second screen will go black. Okay, so here we've got our little screen, and this is Output Manager all set up. So the next thing that we're going to do, so press our home button up here. Okay, and then we're going to go to our mixes page. And on the mixes page, all I want to do is just select a piece of content, okay? It doesn't really matter at this stage what the content is, so we're going to put something on mix 1, and we're going to choose something different for mix 2. So we have two big different pieces of content, so mix 1 and mix 2, so I just selected layer 1, and then just drag the level up, and then mix 2 again, select a different clip, and just drag up the level. So once we've done that, press the home button again. And then we want to select the viewports. Now, in the viewports, this is where we can patch our inputs into shape. So input 1 of shape is the mix that's currently patched in Output Manager. Input 2 in shape, we're going to select as mix 2. Now, hopefully this will make a little bit more sense once we've actually moved into shape. But for now, we want input 1 as the mix patched in Output Manager and input 2 as mix 2. And this just means that the sources in shape are selected as the two mixes that we've got there. Okay, so when we've done that, your screen should still be black in the bottom corner. That's completely normal. And we want to minimize the zookeeper, and you should have Hippo Launch should be running here. We're going to press shape. I just want to hit start shape. Start shape. Has anyone got any questions? Have I gone a little bit fast? Has everyone managed to kind of keep up so far? Okay. Perfect. So now shape, Hippotizer should be all set up now and ready to receive shape, so we shouldn't really need to go back into there too much. So we have shape, okay? Now navigating shape is as easy as 1, 2, and 3. So if we hold down 1 on our keyboard and click with our mouse and then move our mouse around, you'll see that you'll navigate around the space. If I press 2 and click with the mouse and move the mouse around, see that we can zoom in and out. And if we hold down 3 and click with our mouse, you'll see there that you can navigate around like that. So just to help you see what this looks like, what we're going to do is we're going to add a box. So in order to add a box, you want to hit create at the top. So that's create up here. Then we're going to choose primitive and box. So create at the top, primitive and box. Alternatively, you can press Alt-B, okay, and that will add a box. So you can see here is the box. So again, 1, we want to navigate around, 2 or 3. Okay. So there are our options. Now, we can see our box is here. We also have some other options of navigation. So if you right click, so just right click anywhere in this grey space, we can click view. And then at the moment we're using the free camera, and that's what's allowing us to move around the cube. But we can also have the right view, left view. I mean, they're all going to look the same. It's a square. Top, bottom, etc. So that's right clicking in it and just pressing the view. So if you can do that. Now, if you do manage to get yourself lost in 3D space, so for instance, if we're lost here, on the right hand side here, you can select it and you can just hit spacebar and it will just bring you straight back again. So if you do get lost, just make sure your object's selected and then we're just going to hit the spacebar. On the left, we have here the selections. This is allowing us to select our objects. So if I added another one, so create, primitive, and this time I'm just going to choose a sphere. So if I select the sphere or the box, they're in the same place, and we can do that. So if I want to move one of them, I can select simply the move tool here, move gizmo, and we can move it here. So now, if I choose the select icon, I can select them just like that. The move icon allows us to move them around. Then we have a rotation icon underneath that. So you can also do this with W, E, R, and T. So on the keyboard, so W is selection, E is translation, R, rotation. So this allows us to rotate our box. Like this. And T is this bottom one here. So that's scale. So that allows you to kind of scale your object, so we can make it long and thin, or we can make it bigger, or maybe make it more like a deck, and then obviously you can rotate it to however you want it as well. So you can make it a bit like a seesaw if you wanted. So if we select cube, you can move this underneath, and then you'll see we navigate around. That it's sitting, there we go, sitting on it now, like that. So that's kind of the navigation. So remember 1, 2, 3, and W, E, R, and T. You're moving around gizmo, so that's here. On the right hand side, we have our properties panel, okay? So although we can kind of manipulate all of our objects on this side using WERT, we can move them. You again have all of your properties, so you'll see your exact numbers here. So if you have your exact numbers on the right hand side, this way you want to do it. So here we can select the box or the sphere, and we can choose which position we want to put in. So let's say we want to put it back into 0, 0, 0, and we don't want to get rid of all its rotation. So again, we can just edit all of these numbers, so we've got it back to that. And then underneath that, we've got our size. So if we want to just make it 1 meter by 1 meter, so to do that, unlink it here. So 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. So this link here, this means that it will stay a square. So if I change this to 0.1, for instance, you'll see the whole box shrinks down because it's linked to the size. So if I do 1, if you want to link it, you could say set this to 5, and it will only change that 1 aspect. Okay. Is this making sense so far, people? Okay. Anyone got any questions? Perfect. Okay, so that's kind of the movement. So that's the movement side of it. Underneath that, we've got the object center. So for instance, if we have this cube here, at the moment, when we rotate the cube, it's rotating around the center point. So for instance, if I want to rotate, the cube rotates from the central point. If you want to offset it, so each cube is 1 meter. So if I did 0.5 by 0.5, now should rotate Oh, that's wrong, 0.5, 0, here. So now it's on this corner, so if I rotate it, it'll rotate around that corner. So that's changing the origin of your box. And then put it back to the center. And then underneath this, we have object to output. So this is changing our model to an output. We're going to look more at that in a few minutes. And we'll build like a little stage and see how it looks. And then the last option is the material. So again, if we right click, here you've got your view. So this is which part of it we're looking at. And underneath that, you've got display. So at the moment, it's a solid. Okay, and this makes it easy for us to see. If you change it to texture, all right, I see here we've got our material default. If you change it to a different one, you'll see there that it changes what that box looks like. So that's what all of these properties doing at the moment. I mean, you can go a lot deeper, you know, you can do parenting, groups, and all of these things. But for today, we're just going to keep it simple with the simple kind of options. So the final thing we're going to do before we move on to the next step is we're going to add a projector. So to do that, we're going to go create projector. Okay, and here we have our projector. Again, you can move it around and etc. And you have all your properties for your projector again on this side. So here we've got how many lumen it is. So this is 20,000 lumen projector. The resolution of the projector, the lens, so which lens it's got in it, so 1.2 lens. And then a kind of horizontal, vertical shift. Underneath, we've got which objects it can render. So if we wanted to put these in front of each other, we could say this projector only renders certain options. So which one it kind of projects onto, if you like. Target. So for instance, I made this box the target. If I now move this box, the projector will also move to keep that box within its target. Then we have output properties, which we'll look at again more in a little bit when we're working with the projector. Okay, so we've got all of that now. So the next thing we want to do is connect it to Hippotizer. So to do that, again, we go into our network manager at the top. So that's up here. I'll just show you that again. So you can either go in Manager, Network Manager, or you can click on the little option of the network up here. So we click on that, you can turn it on. And it'll say it'll take a minute. So as long as we've patched it in Hippotizer with Shape and Hippotizer is running, it should show up here in your box. So you can just hit Add to Group. And now what we've done is we've connected Shape and Hippotizer together. So because Shape runs on the network, so the same as Zookeeper runs on the network, and they all talk to each other over that network, we do need to like connect them together. Whereas Hippotizer automatically connects. With Shape, you have to manually connect that. So we have that connection now, which is good. The next one along, which should be Output Manager. So again, you can have a Hip Manager, Output Manager, or next to the Network Manager, it's the Output Manager. And this here, we've got our source, we've got our virtual projector. All right, so this is our virtual projector, and we're going to patch that to our physical projector. So this is our output that we've patched within within Hippotizer. So the one that we patched within Hippotizer. I can simply do that. We can simply hit patch. Now, because I've made my output much smaller down here, okay, we're getting this kind of message which is saying that the resolution is different to our output. So, so the source is different to the output. And if we can change it, yes, you should see if my projector is selected. So if I click yes, and input 2 here. You'll see here we have the material default. We have mix 1 and mix 2. So input 1 and input 2. This is mix 1 and mix 2. And if we want to give them a name, can do so here. So I can name this mix 1. That's what it is, and we'll name this one mix 2. This just stops us later getting any kind of confusion of what we're actually doing. So once we've done that, again, we can just close that. Now, if you remember, and I was saying about the output properties before, so here, if we change the material, so we change this to mix 1, and change it on the box, and we change the box to mix 2, you'll see there that now onto our projector, we're projecting the box. And the sphere. And they're different from the mixes. So that's kind of very, very basic. This is how we get shape up and running. But now we're going to okay, so if everyone is kind of happy with like the navigation, so we're going to go the 1, 2, 3 around. And what we're going to do is we're just going to delete everything that's in here at the moment. So you can either start a new one or we can just delete it. If we delete it, it just means that we don't have to turn on all the network again. So yeah, got it all clean. Yep, so are you able to, so we just had a question here, are you able to import DWGs or other CAD file shapes? Yes, you are. And towards the end, what we're going to do, so to start with, we're going to kind of go through the LED walls, how we can build LED walls, how we can project onto them or virtually project onto them to play content on them. And then after that, we're then going to look at how do we import models into the system. We're going to look at how we do projections, how we line up a projection. So we'll look at how to line it up onto a building and how we kind of do all of that. I hope that kind of answers your question. Perfect. Okay, so right, everyone should hopefully have an empty kind of screen now. And now, of course, you could actually import if you have a scene or 3D kind of render of your stage. You can actually just import that in, and then you can just click on your objects. It's really simple. Or if you don't have that, what we can do is we can actually just create it again using primitives. So again, create primitive, and this time we're going to choose plane. So you want to go Alt F or click in here, and we can add a plane. So if I just hit the space bar, should bring me right around in the space. Okay, so here's our plane, just here. So I'm going to move it up to start with, so it's sitting at the right place. So I can also remember type it in here. So this position here, could have it sitting on the ground. 1.5. Now I'm actually going to change the size of it. So I'm going to unlink it here, and I'm going to make this 600 by 900, not meters. I'm going to make it 1.6. That'll help, won't it? Maybe make it a little bit smaller by 0.9. There we go. So again, we can press space and we should navigate back to this. So this is now 1.6 by 0.9 meters. Now, obviously, if you were doing a stage, you could do it 16 meters by 9 meters, but I'm just going to keep it small for now. And as well, if you are working on a laptop following this along, it's a good idea to keep it smaller, especially if your laptop is getting a little bit old now. Might be an idea. It might just help out if you're running play. So we have our little stage here. Okay. Now, yeah, normally you would have it 16 by 9, but this is fine. And we're going to now create another one. So again, create primitive plane. And this one, we're going to move along. And again, we'll move it up. So we can type it in or move it. So 4.5. And this one I'm going to make 0.8 by 0.9. And then I can then just copy that. So right click, copy, right click, paste. And just drag it along here. So we're keeping it on the same axis. And then again, I can just paste it again. Make sure nothing is selected if you want to paste. So paste. And we can just drag it this way and drag it that way a little bit. And again, copy this one now because it'll keep it on the same axis. Or of course, if you don't want to copy it again, you can always. So we can move that one there. So now hopefully everyone should have something that looks a little bit like this. So it should kind of look a bit like a stage. We can move this one a bit more forward. Now, of course, different stages look different, but this one can just look like this. So we have our 4 kind of parts of the LED wall. So depending on how we want to kind of make it look is up to us. So the first thing that we're going to do is select the first plane, so plane 1. And this one, we can give a name here. This is going to be our main LED wall. And where it says output, this is where we want to tick the output selection. And then where it says resolution, we'll leave it as 1920 by 1080. And then we can change that to mix 1. Now the other ones, we're going to again select. So we click on them or select them up here. If you want, you can give them a name. We're going to select that it's an output. But this time we're going to make it half of 1920 by 1080, so I should know this. 960 by 1080. Same with this one. $960. This one. $960 by 1080. So now all of these are 960 by 1080. And what we could do is we could make this mix 2. Mix 2. Okay, so here we've got all of mix 1 and all of mix 2. I think what we're actually doing is looking at it from behind. I think we might have made this, just made it backwards, so we can easily fix that. So again, 1, 2, and 3. So we can use 3, spin it around, and then we can just click on them. And then select blue and just drag it towards us. Something like that. There we go. So we've got our stage again. This time it's all the right way around. So if yours was backwards, just spin your screen around, and then you should end up with all the right way around. Any questions so far? You all managing to keep up? No, please. Okay. So now we have an individual output. So this could be mix 1 and this could be mix 2. Now we could have made mix 2 in Hippotizer the smaller size. Okay. So let's go and do that actually. So if you press your zookeeper button and we go back into outputs, and all we have to do is just hit configure. Okay. And then we're going to make this one custom. This is going to be 960 by 1080. So half of it. And then once you've done that, just click apply. And then if we go back into shape, we should see that mix 2 should look a little bit better. Perfect. Okay, so we've got all of that now. So this is playing mix 1, this is playing mix 2. We've made mix 2 a bit smaller. And now we're going to look at something, so we're going to look at texture mappers. So this is the way of projecting a video effectively onto all of your screens. So if we imagine these are LED walls, because these are outputs, we can add a texture mapper. So to do that, we're going to go up again, up to create, and we're going to select texture mapper. Now there's two here. We've got planar and perspective. So perspective will allow you to kind of put it at a different angle. So if you're working with cameras and you've got the camera at a certain angle, it might be good to kind of have it from that angle so it looks good. Or we've got planar, which will just create a planar map. So you can see there that that's showing on the default material. So we have here different mix modes for our texture mappers. So this texture mapper here is now playing this one. And we have different mix modes. So we have add, sprite, which means it'll just be on top, or alpha. So if it's on alpha, okay, this means that when we fade down this material, then it will automatically show what's behind it, which is what's on our mixes. So if we had a different image on all of our LED walls and we fade this down, it would automatically fade down. So actually, I'm just going to add another mix, which you can do if you want. Quickly add that, and then we're just going to make this mix free. Come on. So I'm just going to choose this one for mix 3, and then in our viewports, apparently don't want to work today. We can select mix 3. So in here, go with input 3, just like that. So then this would then be material 3, which will eventually be, as this works. Let's restart my Zookeeper. Nope, still not having it. So you can make that mix 3. We'll go back into shape. So here we have material 3. So material 3 is what's on our texture mapper. And then if we were fit to fade down our texture mapper, you would be able to see underneath that, you would have all of your other mixes. So that's kind of how we do it. In a minute, we're going to look at how you can visualize this on your screen and see exactly what it looks like. But first of all, we're going to look at compositions. Now, I don't think this is still connected. It's not, so I think if I shut down my engine. There we go. Just restart all of it. I was thinking that will probably help. All of our mixes. So now, if I go into shape, we've got our viewports. Try and make sure that it's still connected. Okay, well, if it was connected, we can go into our output manager here. And here you can see we've got all of our different LEDs. So this is our main LED. So in here, when your Hippotizer is patched, you'll be able to see, and you'll be able to click on your outputs and click patch. So this is just going to say, right, this LED wall, which is 1920 by 1080, is now going to be patched to this one. We then have plane 2, and if I'd renamed them, they'd have all had different names. So we could say, we could patch this to an output, patch it to an output, patch it to an output. However, what you might want to do is to use something called a composition. So a composition is kind of similar to Output Manager, and what it allows us to do is we could create 2 compositions to make our LED walls go next to each other. So it's kind of like Video Mapper, kind of like Output Manager, if you think of it in that kind of way. So the first thing you need to do is to go to Create and then choose Composition. And you'll see over here, I'll just move this down here. You'll see here that it says composition, and we can give our composition a name. So this might be LED controller 1, and the resolution of our canvas is this one, and then we can create different mappings. So if I create, we can choose what we want to add. So we might want to add plane 2, okay, and then we might want to add, we do create again. You might want to add into the plane 2 copy, so they'll be the two next to each other. Now, if you want to see the composition layout, at the top, we're going to choose composition just here. So here we can see we have the two different options, and we can move this one here. So what we can actually do is this is saying this one output is going to have these two LED walls. So this one here is 0, 0, and this one here is that. So we can make this that. 960, so it's in the right place, 50. So we know now that's like this. So this side is effectively your actual LED wall, and this side is where it is on your output. So again, if we wanted to create a second composition, so again, up here, create composition. This one here, we're going to call controller 2. And we can call this one again 1920 by 1080, and this time we'll add the copy, and we'll add a second copy. And again, we can just move it across and either drop it into place, or we can simply just type in the numbers here. So now we know that it's all in the right place. So there, what we'll see now is if we go into our output manager, this one, you'll see here that we have a LED controller 1, which we can patch straight to LED controller 1. I can just try and start the engine again. I'm just going to repatch it. Oh, there we go. It's this side patch that's lost. So again, I'm just going to make that back into that corner so we can see it. We're going to my viewports. There we go. So here, once it's loaded, it should populate. And we go to mix 2, and we're going to make input 3, mix 3. Just check we've got some plane on them all. Yep, perfect. This one we can do autofill. It's a great one that kind of zooms it to fit. Okay, so now if we go back into shape, in our output manager, turn our network on first. Part of the group. And then in output manager, you should be able to see it. So this is our output. So if you wanted to patch this, so there you go. You can see it's kind of zoomed it a bit strangely. We can patch that, or we could patch the main LED wall straight to it. So that's going to be what the main LED wall is. Now, all this is very well, and it works perfectly when you're on site. But when you're sitting at home and you want to see kind of what it's going to look like, so you want to use it as kind of a visualizer, then what you want to do is you want to add a projector. So we're going to create a projector, and we can move our projector backwards so we can kind of see everything that's going on. That way a bit. There we go. Now, if we patch this projector, what it should do is it should allow you to see in our output exactly what's going on the stage. So here you can see, if I actually just going to go that way a little bit, and go up a little bit. And again, we can move them around so you can see them better. So this is playing for the texture mapper. So remember I was saying, so now if I go into here, I go into mixes, and I fade down mix 3, we can now see what's behind it. So if you had multiple kind of canvases, then you would easily see what that looks like. Now, Shape can also deal with any kind of movement, so we can set our planes onto controllers or part of your model onto your controllers, etc. So we can do it like this. Select our plane, move it in a little bit, move it back a bit. And you can see that it's moving on our output. So this is how we'd use it as a visualizer. Okay, has anyone got any questions about kind of working with LED walls, setting the models to outputs, patching, anything like that? Remember, you can unmute your mic if it's easier. I don't mind, or you can write in the chat box. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's kind of one way of using Shape. So the other way is I mean, if you're using Shape already, so we just had a question here, so is this better than using Visualizer now? If you're using Shape already and you already have it set up, then yeah, I would say use this way because it's easier. You can see it. Obviously with Visualizer, you can affect like your ambient light, things like that, and in Shape, you can't do that. So it depends kind of what control you want and what you're doing. But if you do already have your kind of your Shape model or you're working in Shape already, then I would say you might as well just carry on this way. The only downside is it does use an output for your machine, so you might have to think about that. You know, Shape can be heavy. It's just a different way of working. It's not necessarily a do it this way instead. It's just a different way of working. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Now we're going to look at how we can kind of map a building. So this is a second way of using Shape. So this is one way, LED walls or screens. The second way is a bit different. So we're just going to go File, going to create a new project. It's up to you if you want to save your work, you can do. And we should end up with an empty project that looks kind of like this. So to do this, we're going to go File, Import. Now here I have two 3D objects. So I have a Cinema 4D option and I have just an OBJ. If you wanted to know what it takes in, there is an option of files that it can do. It takes quite a lot of the 3D ones, so I'm just going to go with the Cinema 4D one. And then in here we have some scale options. So 0.4. Just show you that again. So here, got the options. You can flip it, you can change it, and the camera we can bring in as a texture mapper. Perspective texture mapper, and you can select what you want to bring in. Do you want to bring in the camera? Do you want to bring in the church, etc. So I'm just going to again click OK, and then I can delete this one. Okay, so now it's going to look kind of like this. So this is our model, 3D model, and then we've got our planar mapper around it, perspective map. So again, just like before, what we want to do is we want to create our projectors. So we've added our projector, we've selected our projector, and now we can move it backwards. So again, 1, 2, and 3 to navigate around. So here we have our projector. Now, I'll press spacebar. So here we can see which part is hitting. If you right click on an empty grey space and we go display case study. Okay, in here you can see that we can see where the projector is hitting, how bright it needs to be, how big it is. So if we wanted to have multiple projectors, we can work out where they need to be by using this case study tool. Now, in 4.6, which will be out soon, the whole case study has been reworked. You can now see how bright it is, lumens, so it's got heat maps, it's got pixel maps, so how many pixels are hitting each bit. If it's on its if it's on a side, you know, you want to get square pixels, not rectangular pixels. So all of the things that can help make it look good. In this version, we just have kind of which part it's hitting. So for instance, if we had a projector there, we might want to add a second projector. And again, we can pull this one back. And then you can see that bit is now hitting that part, and you can see in the middle where it's brighter, where both projectors are hitting. Now, if you want it kind of a bit more obvious, we can click on this projector and we can make this one red. So when it hits, you can see there that now it's red. So you can see which projector is hitting. If it's hitting both, it's pink. So if you want to stack them, and from doing this, you can work out what lens you need on your projector. So here we can say we can have a bigger lens or a smaller lens. Sorry, wide or narrow. You can change the shift of it, all in here as well. If you zoom in, or if you right click, you should be able to see shadows. So here, case study, so this is coverage. So here we've got the angle of view, so which part you're hitting. Like I said, this has got a lot more controls. It's got a lot more controls in 4.6, and you can see it a lot easier. But you can see here that the blue in the pink is where it's not really hitting, the red is where it can't hit, and the green is where it's hitting. So again, right click on the projector, case study, pixel density output. So you can see that this is zoomed right out, so we're not getting good pixel. And there's a few different options here. So like I said, it's a lot better in 4.6, but you can see here you still get some options of which part it's hitting, and what it looks like. So if we want to map that projector, okay, it's really easy. So I'm just going to delete this one, and we're just going to stick with this one. So again, we want to go into, I'll put it there for instance. We have to go into the manager. We're going to add it to a group. And then I'm going to patch our projector to our output. But before I do that, actually, I'm just going to patch it to my actual projector here. So if I just unpatch this one, I should patch it straight here. Now I do have a projector connected, which hopefully you guys will be able to see in a second. So hopefully hopefully you can see that now. So that should be patched. Apply config, and then we're just going to go back into SHAPE. See if we can get it to show up. So we had a question there, any idea when 4.6 is available? So I'm hoping definitely before the end of this year. I'm hoping September, but they like to make sure that it's correct before they launch it. So they don't just want to launch it if it's not ready. So they will make sure that it's ready before they release it. But do keep your eye out. I'm sure if you're on our mailing list, there will be an email that goes around once it's ready. Waiting for this to finish configuring. And then we will, I'll show you how to line it up. Getting there. Try this. So because I keep playing around in Output Manager, obviously you won't keep doing that, would you, if you already had it connected with Shape. There we go, that's configured. So hopefully working in there, yep. So now if we go into here, make sure this is on, added to the group, good. And we go into outputs, patch our virtual projector to our actual projector, patch. So now you can see on there that we've got an image, and I'm just going to come into the camera. Black. So now you can see there that we're getting something projected. So the next step is to go into lineup. So we can go into alignment. So we have home and alignment. We're going to choose alignment. And we're going to look for points. So the idea of this is we're aligning the 2D point up with the 3D point. So we select our projector, then we want to line up, we select a point. A good thing to do before you start is actually come into your output properties and just hit flash. So you should see that it should go white and it should cover the whole of your model. If it doesn't and you're expecting it to, you want to make sure you do that. The second thing you can do is show your up angle. So you can see here, if I just hide the model. So you can see now that my up angle is actually not pointing the right way, and that's because I've got my projector on its side. So I'm going to set that now 90 degrees, so we're pointing straight up. This just means when I'm using my keyboard to line it up, you're going to know exactly what happens. So I've selected a point, and I press enter, okay? Now you should see that it'll kind of grey itself out, and on your output you should see a crosshair. So now using the arrow key, so if you go up and down, it will move 1 pixel. If you hold down shift, you'll move 100 pixels. If you hold down control, you'll move 10 pixels. So you want to get that 2D point in the exact same place. And if you press the F key, it should flash and you should see it. I don't think my projector very much in focus. And press enter. Here we've also got a checkerboard mode. So again, we can select a checkerboard mode and we can choose a different point. So this time I might choose this point here. Again, you can navigate around in the exact same way. So I'm going to choose that point, press enter. And again, here we've got our checkerboard mode. Let's see if I can make this a little bit better. No, that'll do. And we're going to move it into the correct position. And remember, again, you can press the F key. You can kind of get it into the right place. And you want to do this 4 times, okay? So 4 should give you a pretty good lineup. So we might choose this point. So again, we can use the F key. Press enter, and we're going to choose the last point. So when you're choosing points, it's good to choose different heights, different widths, and different depths. So you can see here that these points are further forward than this point. So what's going on here? So I might choose this point now, or that point there. And we press enter, and we can move along. So again, we get it in the right place. Press enter. Okay, now if I unhide the model, so I can press Control H, or we can click unhide down here. Oh, something is definitely in the wrong place. We're all red. So we're going to add one more point just to see. So we'll add one in the middle here. It should try and work out where it is. So it's a little bit off. So I think I probably did get one in the wrong place. And again, we can use the F key to make sure it's in the right place. And press Enter. And again, Control H. So now it's kind of looking correct-ish. So if we select our church and go back to our home page, and this time I'm going to select material 1. So I'm going to select input 1 here, select material 1, and then we go into our Hippotizer, click our home page. We're going to then select our church, which I'm hoping is in here. Here we go. So we choose our block and choose fill. So you can see now on our output that that is our church lined up. Now, you might notice, some of you eagle eyes might have noticed, that our actual church doesn't have any tops, and our model does. So in here, you've got options to edit the mesh. So here we can select points and edit it. So I might select, hold down Shift. I could select these points and we can kind of edit it down. Now, it's not designed to be a perfect editor, all right? It's designed more as a kind of a get out of jail free card, or quite often you'll find that the windows are not in the right place. No matter how much you try, you'll see the windows are not right. So we can kind of do that to get it in the right place. But obviously, ideally, you would send it back to your content creator. We have UV edit. Again, this is another option, so we can select points here. So if there's an error in your UV, you can select points and you should select them on both sides, and you can move them around your UV map. We have warp. So if we select our projector, you can right click, you can add slices. And this is where it's slightly different from the Hippotizer warp. We can actually add, oh, that one to add a horizontal, because our projector's on its side, and we can then warp just a part of it. Obviously that's quite extreme, but you kind of get the idea of what you can do there. Blend and mask, again, if we wanted to add a mask, we can add it into the middle. So there you can see it's black, and we can obviously soft edge that and different things like that. This is how you would do blending as well. So you can create a mask and you can just blend your projectors. So if we have 2, we want to go up with scale, we can make it bigger. Move it around, and obviously if you come into the individual, you can move each point by itself. Okay, so I think, and then obviously the composition, which we already looked at. I think that's pretty much the very basic overview, and we did just hit 4 o'clock, so a little bit longer than I anticipated. But does anyone have any questions they want to ask? Anything that they want to see? Everyone's pretty happy. So if you have no points to line it up, you kind of need to create some points, even if it's the edge of it, you need some kind of point. But yeah. Okay, so I think I'll hand back to Neil in a second, but there is actually another webinar next, it's in 2 weeks actually, it's on Tuesday the 29th, or Wednesday the 29th. And this is actually a couple of our users that work on Strictly Come Dancing, and they're going to talk about how they kind of go from concept to reality. So how do they get that to kind of from the beginning to the end. So that should be quite interesting if anyone's interested. So it's on our website. I'll put the link in the chat. And then, yeah, perfect. So I'll hand back to Neil. Possibly, if he's there. Well, I'll put the link in the chat, and well, thank you all very, very much for coming. Is that Anil, or is that someone got a question they want to ask? So, training.
Susie, it looks like somebody's asking about having videos, which we have recorded the session, so we will make the videos available in the next few days and send the link over to you guys.
Perfect. So this is the if you want to sign up to the other webinar, now in the chat. Perfect. Well, unless you guys have got anything else you want to say, thank you very, very much for listening. I'll hang around for a couple of minutes just in case anyone's got any questions. But yeah, thank you very, very much. And hope you all have a good rest of your day. And if you can, do sign up to the other webinar. It should be quite interesting to watch. So we just had another question here. Is there any content creators you would recommend for mapping? Yeah, drop an email to support@green-hippo.com. We have a list of people that we could send you. Should be able to help out, or at least a couple of people we know. So I'll put that in there as well. Okay, if no one's got any more questions, we'll end it there. But thank you very, very much for coming. If you do think of anything, feel free to drop an email to training@green-hippo.com. And if you need to contact AC, I think Hannah's going to be sending out an email after this to you all. So she will put some information in there about what to do if you're interested in purchasing a Hippo, you want to know more about it. Then either drop Hannah an email, or she'll put the link in the email, or you can drop training@green-hippo.com, and we can also help you with any further training you may require. So thank you all very, very much, and we'll end the webinar there.